Welcome back to the show, everyone. I'm your host, Dr. Mel Vandevoort. Today, I had a conversation with Priscilla Jabouin, who took bold action and transitioned from the classroom into career coaching. And she is loving what she does now. Priscilla started her career as a school teacher many years ago, and she really just decided that it just wasn't what she wanted to do long term. It wasn't for her necessarily. So she made that bold choice, that brave decision to transition from being an educator into career coaching. Today, we're going to explore Priscilla's courage in that decision to really listen to her heart and resign from a permanent teaching position of teaching students into a position of teaching adults. Priscilla is going to share the challenges and the celebrations of her years in the field of career development. And you get to hear not only how she guides others through a career transition, but how she used what she learned from her own career transition to make it successful for them. So whether you're seeking your next purpose or you're already ready to make that career transition, Priscilla's story is bound to inspire you and empower you on your own path to a fulfilling career. Let's get started. Hi, friend. Are you ready to move into a leadership position? Do you have interests and ambitions that you want to pursue, but feel like you don't know how to take that next step? Maybe you want to start your own coaching or consulting agency. I'm Mel, and I help educators define their career path through correct mindset, knowing your options, and getting prepared for your career transition. I will show you how to level up your leadership skills, share your expertise in a new way, create impact on a larger scale, and put your leadership in motion. As an educator for over 20 years, I started to feel underused and like I had more to give. I knew when the time had come for me to leave the classroom and affect change on a larger level. Now, I'm ready to help you determine where your talents and skills mesh with your passions and interests. Put your leadership in motion and move into that next phase of your educational career journey. Let me help you define your career path by having the right mindset, knowing your options, and getting prepared for that next leadership position. So power up and put your leadership in motion. Welcome back to the show, everyone. Hope you are having an amazing day. I have a guest with me here today. I have Priscilla, and I'm going to try to say her last name without messing up, Jabouin. And if I said it wrong, she's going to correct me and tell you the correct way to say it because it's a little bit different. I love it. It's awesome and very unique. So welcome to the show, Priscilla.
Thank you, Mel. Thank you for having me on the show. And yes, you pronounced it well. It's like a little bit of a flow, but it's all good. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
So what is the origin of that name? Is it French? French?
It is
okay.
French. Yes.
Yep. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Asian background.
Priscilla, tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you're at, all of the things. Let's get to know Priscilla a little bit.
Let's get to know Priscilla a little bit. And I'm here and I'm sitting, I'm like, okay, the thing that popped into my mind is my first career was as a school teacher. And that was about 20 years ago now, which is wild to say. And I got to a point in my career where it was time for a transition, and maybe we'll go a little bit deeper into that. And but you can always listen to my full story on the Dream Career podcast. And I really got to a point in my life where I realized it's time to listen to my heart. Like it's time to listen to what I truly desire to do. And the fear was definitely there, and it was very scary. But I decided to resign from a permanent teaching position and to go back to school. So I returned to school to do my master's in counseling psychology, which psychology had always been my love and I always knew it. It's just that I guess there were some swervies happening in my road. Mm-hmm. And fast track, go back to school, love it, never looked back, never regretted it, and started working in the field of career development. So for the last 11 plus years now, 12 years or so, I've been in the field of career development, basically helping professionals, mostly I really laser focus on women and women in their 40s, but really overall helping people who feel unhappy at work and who are looking for more fulfillment and meaning in the workplace, figure out what it is they really want to do, which I call the dream career, and give them, like, help them develop the confidence and give them the tools and the strategies to make it a reality. So that's really like when I'm in that space, I light up.
Awesome. Yes. And it's perfect for either podcast because right now I am talking to either my midlife women who are ready to transition in their career, whether it is make a career shift to another position within their own field right now, or completely make a shift into a different field or start their own business. And my educators are the same way. They're ready to move into a different position, or some of them may be ready to move into that field or that area of starting their own business as well and becoming an educational entrepreneur. So it works for either one. Yeah, absolutely. Wonderful. So where are you located?
Wow, that can be such a loaded question for me. I'm such a nomad at heart, so I'm actually always in a different location. And right now I am in what we call the Renfrew County, which is basically the countryside. So I'm about 3 hours outside of the capital of Canada, which is Ottawa. And I am overlooking a lake, which is always beautiful.
Oh my
I'm in this
gosh.
quiet, serene environment, which I absolutely love. And I've decided that 2024 is my year of rest and relax. So this is where I'm going to be. This is probably where I'm going to be for now.
So I'm going to say that that is a perk of owning your own business and owning your own time. You can be wherever you want to be and work from wherever you want to work if you own your own company. And I am the same way. Yesterday, I decided I didn't want to do anything but watch movies. And so guess what? That's what I did yesterday. I laid on the couch. I watched some movies, had some more coffee. I own my own time right now. And I love that because it gives me freedom and flexibility. So if you even think you might want to start your own business, if it's a consulting business or a coaching business or something where you work from home, if it's on your heart, it might be the way to go. Definitely.
Yeah. And I loved how you said if it's on your heart, because that is definitely something I would say you want to listen to, especially if you have never listened to it. Right. And you're right. Like when it comes to time, like I decided I'm taking 3 weeks off for the holidays. Like
Yes.
I'm blocking off my schedule. I just want 3 weeks. I want to do admin stuff. And I was telling you earlier, like I got sick and I could tell my body was asking me to rest and relax. And I think that's also one of the beauties of having your own time and doing what you want with your own time is you don't need to ask anyone for permission to take that time off when your body is asking you to take that time off.
Right. And when you own your own business, you don't have to ask for permission anyway, because you are the creator of your schedule. So
exactly,
that is definitely, and I hear you because I had COVID a few weeks ago and I just couldn't do stuff. And so I cleared my schedule. I had to cancel a few things. I had to push back a couple of my coaching clients, and then I had a couple of podcast episodes scheduled, and I wasn't going to be my best self. So I had that flexibility where I could just reschedule and say, hey, I'm not where I need to be to focus on our conversation right now and give a great conversation with you. So let's push it a few days. And I could do that.
Yeah, exactly. Agreed. Yes.
Yeah. So
That's
tell
definitely
us a
something.
little bit more about what you do, and let's really dig into that. We talked a little bit before the show, and let's kind of talk about some of those things that we had mentioned before we started.
Sure. Yeah. And so it's really about, in a way, I feel that I do have these different hats that I wear based on where my clients are in this journey. I call it a journey. So I feel like when you get to the point where there's like, you feel it in your soul, something needs to change.
Yep.
right? And it can
Yep.
be, and I'm thinking like sometimes well, I often talk about clients being unhappy at work, but you don't necessarily have to be unhappy at work. I know that one of the big shifts I did in my life, I wasn't actually unhappy at work, but it was just like my soul, I was just feeling this nudge and this tug of something needs to change. Something has to change. This is not like, basically, like, this is not your path. There's something bigger and better out there for you. So
Mm-hmm.
are you going to make that change that you're feeling that you're being asked to make or not? And so when clients are in that space of the, I think I want to quit, or I think there's something better out there for me, or I would love to do this, like, I would love to do this, are these keywords that really make the bells in my head go off. Cause I'm like, okay, this is key. Let's really listen to what the person's about to say once they say that, right? And and then it becomes, okay, so we have this awareness that something has to change, but then most people get stuck because it's like, but what's next?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it's normal to be stuck because I've met people like myself who have quit without knowing what they were going to do next. And that can be quite the roller coaster, right? And I usually suggest have a plan. Like, take your
Mm-hmm.
time to identify what is next. What is it that you're going to do? If you're going to quit that job, let's do it in a way where you feel really confident because you know exactly what's happening next. So
Right.
that first hat is really about the clarity, helping clients figure it out, helping clients figure out what is it that your heart truly desires to do. And I really emphasize what your heart truly desires to do, because I think that, yeah, there are lots of options out there and you could pick and choose, you could literally put things in a hat. But when
Mm-hmm.
we're talking about the dream career, when we're talking about really being in alignment with our soul, then it becomes really what your heart desires,
Right.
right? And so that, I say, is really the first step, is you want clarity. What is it that you're going to do next?
And that alignment also is not just within yourself, it's also with your skills, your talents, those
Yeah,
things that you can bring in.
for sure.
That alignment is, you have to really dig into that and see what those skills, those hidden talents, or they may not be hidden. You just may not, other people may see them in you, but you may
Exactly.
not always see them in yourself.
Exactly.
And
Yeah,
so,
for
like,
sure.
really doing that work first and getting that clarity in every area is
Yes.
the first step, definitely.
Yes. And what I've noticed also when it comes to values, and like, I feel like sometimes the values need to be reawakened because maybe you've stepped off your, like, you were aligned and then you stepped off of alignment. We want to bring you back to alignment with your values. But like you were saying, I feel like I like to call it talents, because I feel like the skills are things that we learn, but the talents are those that are really innate to us. They're already there.
Right.
I I see often in clients, they've used them in some way, shape, or form, whereas it's something they've done on the side, or it is something they're doing at work, but
Mm-hmm.
maybe it's not emphasized in the workplace. So it's like, okay, how do we bring all of these things together and make it make sense with what your heart desires, right?
Right.
So that's really where we go a little bit deeper into, okay, that's what you've identified your heart truly desires. Then the fear and the obstacles and the challenges pop up. So then we want to start, I like grounding my client to help them notice, look, this is actually possible. And this is how it can be possible,
Mm-hmm.
right? And bringing all of it together for it to make sense and for it to be less scary for them to take action. That's
Yes.
really like, I guess in a way, that's maybe where we, in a way, we can say like we're setting a plan. We are grounding you in your yes, because one of the things I've also noticed is that it's not, the clarity isn't really the part that's difficult.
Mm-hmm.
With my clients, what I've noticed is the part that's difficult is honoring what you actually desire,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
I mean, the reality is, if most of us honored what we desired, most of us would be out there doing what we desire,
Right. And you were
right?
talking about those steps, and I do backward planning, or talk to my clients or my audience about backward planning and breaking
Yeah,
that down into those small bite-sized steps so
yeah,
it's more achievable and it doesn't seem so overwhelming. You
exactly.
have less limiting beliefs if you are breaking things down, because if you look at the big picture, it's scary and it's
Mm-hmm.
overwhelming. And then you can sit there and you can come up with 100,000 reasons why you can't do it
100%.
because it's so big. And
And
if you
scary.
make it smaller,
Yeah.
some of those limiting beliefs or those fears, all that can dissipate very easily.
Exactly. Exactly. I totally agree with that. And it's those baby steps are
Yes.
gold. They are gold. Because when you make those baby steps, it's about celebrating the baby steps.
Mm-hmm.
And then the baby steps create that bigger picture that you were afraid of. If you just look at the big picture, it's overwhelming. It's like, how do I do this? But when you take the baby steps, and the baby steps also open up different doors that give you new information, new opportunities, new connections that
Mm-hmm.
make it, it's like it's paving the way for you to get where you want to get, right? And I
Yes.
always tell people you need to start, because if you don't start, those little opportunities can never show up for you to see that it's possible. You're
Right.
unfortunately can stay stuck in your head wondering and thinking. And so my next step is really supporting my clients and taking action. So then it's
Yep.
like, okay, let's make it a reality. So we figured out what you want to do. We've tackled the fears, we've tackled the challenges, we've identified the baby steps. So now we're actually taking action, and we're
Mm-hmm.
creating, and we're experiencing. And
Yes.
then it's like you're expanding your comfort zone, you're experiencing something new, and then you have all this, I call it this magical stuff happening in your life that you never thought could possibly happen. And then that opens up the door for like the next expansion, because you're always evolving. And one of the things we were talking about earlier was just this idea of, well, we didn't specifically say it that way, but how scary it can be for people to leave a career
Mm-hmm.
where they've been very comfortable, or that's what they've known for so many
Yes.
years. And sometimes even I've had people say, like, well, I feel like I failed, or I feel like a failure because I've spent all this time and all this energy in this career. I'm like, none of it is lost.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. You were where you were supposed to be for the amount of time that you were supposed to be there. And
exactly.
in my case, yes, I left public education and people had a hard time understanding that, but I was ready for something more. And my talents, my passions, my interests shifted a little bit. It didn't change completely. I'm still in education.
Yeah,
It just looks different now for me.
exactly. And that's the idea. And I call that evolving. Right. So
Yes.
even when, so I've also worked with teenagers, right? And I feel so sorry for them, because the world we live in gets them so overwhelmed, thinking like at 16 they need to decide what they're doing for the rest of their life. And we tend to, even as adults, tend to do
Hmm.
that to ourselves too.
Right.
Oh my God, the decision needs to be right, because this is like, no, you are not committing to this career for life. You
Right.
are committing to this career until you no longer want to commit to this career. It's really
Uh-huh.
that simple. And you need to trust that it's going to evolve, and everything that you've done until now and everything that you're going to do are all the puzzle pieces, the building blocks to the next level.
Yes. If I
None of
could
it
pick
is
my mic
lost.
up right now and do a mic drop, I would, but my boyfriend would be mad because he would, if I break my mic, he's going to be very
Right.
upset with me. But yes, you are correct. Everything that I did as an educator led up to what I am doing now. And all of that learning was not wasted. It's what I'm doing. I'm using it to my
Exactly.
full potential now,
Exactly. And
my
so
new
even
full potential.
exactly. So even when I look at my path of like, I went through career hell. That's exactly what I went through. As a teacher, all of those teaching skills I am still using today. Everything I learned
Yes.
as to how do I teach different learning styles, like these are all things that I bring to my webinars and my workshops when I'm teaching my clients my courses. All of it is included, and I see how people are like, wow, that was like a really good, like that was really good content. And I know what the secret is. Like,
Hmm.
I know how to be a teacher. Like, this is a skill that I got.
Yes.
So my path had to include teaching in order for me to get to where I am today. And I truly believe that if
Yes.
I hadn't been a teacher, I wouldn't have those skills and those tools to help my clients today. Because as a career coach, you're continuously teaching your clients
Hmm.
so many things, whether it's the job search strategies, whether it's even understanding themselves, understanding their mindset,
Hmm.
understanding the career exploration piece, creating content for them, right? All of those things are things that I was doing as a teacher. So they're all transferable skills. So even for both of our clientels, when they think about changing careers, it's not so much like I have to start over. You're never starting over. You're taking the next step and you're bringing all of that experience and all of those transferable skills with you.
Yes, exactly. Transferable skills. That's exactly right. And you're still teaching, like you said, your audience changed. You
Exactly.
you didn't
They're not children
necessarily change.
anymore.
Right, exactly. And that's exactly where I'm at. I'm no longer teaching elementary students, middle school students, high school students. I went from teaching teachers to teaching adult women. I'm still teaching teachers because I just started a consultancy. And
Yeah.
so it looks different, but it's the same still yet.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really like, often I tell my clients, it's like, you want to put the emphasis on your skills and the skills you've developed. So
Mm-hmm.
even when I was transitioning from being a teacher to becoming a career, initially my career started as a career advisor. I did go back to my teaching experiences to be like, well, okay, what are those transferable skills? Well, teaching, I'll be teaching workshops.
Mm-hmm.
That's teaching. I'll
Mm-hmm.
have to do the planning. I'll have to be doing somewhat of a curriculum development in
Yes.
that role, right? All of those were assets for me. It made it so easy for me to transition.
Yes.
And then it's like, as a teacher, you're a presenter, you're a speaker, right? People don't even
Mm-hmm.
really think about it
Exactly.
that way. You
Exactly.
are,
An
you
instructional
really,
designer, which is a job that
yes,
I didn't know was actually a thing until recently,
yes,
like a year and a half ago. And it's designing instruction for people who maybe aren't in the education arena.
yes, exactly. Um, there are so many careers that, so I was lucky enough that I did my B.Ed at Queen's University in Kingston, Ontario, Canada. And our career center, I'm sure this man has now retired, and unfortunately I don't remember his name, but he was so passionate about his job, and he had created this booklet for us. So we're becoming grade school teachers or
Mm-hmm.
high school teachers, and he actually had created a booklet of, if you don't become a teacher after your degree, these are careers you can pursue. So he
That is
was,
awesome.
imagine that. So he was already ahead of his game. We're talking about 2004, ahead of his game, already knowing some of you are going to go to the classroom, some of you will not,
Yes.
right? And even that booklet, I think I actually still have it, was useful for me when I was working with teachers who no
Mm-hmm.
longer wanted to be in the classroom. But a lot of teachers might no longer want to be in the classroom, but they still enjoy teaching,
Yes, exactly.
right?
Exactly.
And so it's like, so for me, my question to them would be like, well, ideally, who would you want to be teaching?
Right. Yeah. And
Right?
that's the same. That's exactly what mine is. I just pivoted my audience to a
Yeah,
different age.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah, for sure. And so, anything and everything is possible really when you're ready to transition. It's just like, I find like what's important is having the support, because often people want to do it by themselves, and I'll say, just based on my personal experience, like that's really difficult if you're trying
Yes.
to do it all by yourself and you don't have someone who can guide you and who can help you through the steps, and just make it easy for yourself, because it's
Yeah,
so easy
absolutely.
to, yeah, it's so easy to get discouraged. You're going to hear all these messages about people who don't make it, when the entrepreneurs, you can make it, get yourself back up, go
Mm-hmm.
again. You
Mm-hmm.
fall, it doesn't look like what you, I don't actually believe in failure. I feel like
Me
failure
either.
is, yeah, it's something, it's just that what it is that you wanted to create didn't quite look like the way what you wanted to create. So
Mm-hmm.
you get back up and you do it again. You learn from the mistake, or you learn from whatever
Exactly.
happened last time. You pick yourself back up, you do it again, and you do it again, and you do it again, and you do it again, until you reach whatever it is you want to reach. And
Exactly.
I realize, even in my case, like, I have had some challenging moments, and I have these moments, I think every year, where I'm like, but guess what, Priscilla? You are still on the path. You have not given up. Like, you're still doing
Yes,
it.
exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And that's where it's at. You
Yeah.
just keep going. And there are a lot of people who could have given up, and we would not have a lot of things if they had given up.
Exactly.
So we would not be flying in
For
airplanes.
sure.
We would not have
Exactly.
electricity.
Exactly.
There's so many things that would be not something that would be part of our lives.
Mhm.
So
I love how you gave those examples because I was literally thinking the same thing and you said it out loud.
yeah,
Because often when we're talking about the dream career or finding a career you love, people are like, well, I don't believe it exists or whichever. I'm like, that idea, those computers, these laptops and these phones we're using, they literally
yes,
didn't exist when I was a teenager
yes,
and now they exist. Like you said,
exactly.
the airplane, that didn't exist.
Right.
Imagine this machine flying in the sky. Now it exists.
Yes.
Light didn't exist. Like there's so many things in our world that didn't exist and they're not part of our world. So for sure, your dream career must exist. For
Yeah.
sure, your dream career is possible, right?
And if it doesn't exist,
Create it.
create it.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So give us one last piece of advice if we're ready to make
Oh,
that pivot where we want to take bold action.
okay. I'm actually I'm going to share a quote with you that I really, really, really love. I
Perfect. I love quotes.
feel sums it up. It's by Howard Thurman, and he says, don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive and go do it. Because what the world needs are more people who have come alive. I love, love, love that quote because it's
Yes.
so true. And yeah, it's so true. Like just go do what you want to do. Don't worry about where the money is or what's popular. Go do what you want to do. Because
Mm-hmm.
there's a stirring in your soul that's telling you that's exactly what the world needs. So go share it.
And the world doesn't always know what it needs because we didn't know we needed computers back when I
Right.
was in elementary school. I mean, we had computers, but they were very bad. But you
Super
know,
slow.
right, exactly. We had Atari and those kind of things. So we didn't know we needed better until now. And
Yeah.
so
And
just do it. Take bold
yeah.
action.
And even us, like we're on Zoom right now, staring at each other. That
Mm-hmm.
didn't exist. That was an idea. I still remember when that was just an idea.
Yes.
Imagine talking on the phone and you can see the other person. And it was so mind boggling. It was like, oh my
Yeah,
God, imagine a screen where you can see the person you're speaking to. And this is
exactly.
like the norm now. We do it all
Yeah.
the time,
Yes,
right?
exactly.
So
Exactly.
you never know.
It has been wonderful having you on today. If my
Mm.
audience would like to connect with you, how can they do that?
For sure. So they can find me on the website mymaptohappiness.com and click on the Let's Chat tab. I'm also on LinkedIn, which is where I'm quite active. So if
Okay.
they want to get some tips and some inspiration to just help them in that journey to wake up to a career they love, that's definitely where they can find me. And actually in the near 2024, I'm launching a job search clinic. And that's going to be drop-in style. So anyone who wants support in their job search, but specifically for a career they're going to love, then
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be there live answering questions, Q&A and tips.
See?
And I'm really excited about that because that's actually something I've
See,
had
that
on my
is
mind.
not something that's the norm. And you created something that the world didn't know they needed until now. So
Exactly.
there you go. Perfect. Perfect. And my audience knows that I always have all of the links in the show notes, so they will have no trouble connecting with you.
Amazing.
Thank you all so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it. And I really appreciate Priscilla being here today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mel. Thanks for having me on your show.
And I will see you guys next time.